Hi, so today I'm going to be doing a review on a Fox Float X2 rear shock. I've been running this shock for about 6 months now, maybe a little bit longer, so I just thought I'd do this review to share my thoughts and experiences of running this shock, see if I can help some people out, because I've been having a number of questions about people concerned about the setup of this shock, because it can seem quite daunting, because it does have a number of adjustments, but it is very easy to set up. So what I'm going to do is I'll just go through the layout of the shock, how to set it up, and then my experiences of running it. So first of all, the first setting you've got to do is the air pressure, which is sorted via this Schrader valve. I've just got a purple cover on that. It does come with a black one. And it explains in the manual that comes with it how to set the sag on the shock. That's a little O-ring here. And one thing I would say when you're actually setting the shock up, setting the air pressure up, is I like to do it in 50 psi increments, and then cycle the shock 2 or 3 times just to let the air pressure equalize into the extra reservoir here, because otherwise the setting can be slightly off on your pump. And then the next thing you need to do is set your adjustments up. And this is the bit that people seem to be concerned about, just because there is a number of them. Well, there's 4 main adjustments here. So you've got the high speed and low speed compression, and you've got the high speed and low speed rebound. And these are pretty straightforward. They are explained here, but it does come with a really good recommended settings page. So you basically just work out what PSI you're running, and then you just follow the settings here. What I tend to do is start with a lower number, and then set the shock in the bike, run it for a bit, see how I like it. If I need to adjust it, then just adjust it by 1 click. Ride it again, see if it's how I like it. If it's not, go back, either go back or go another setting in. So to adjust these dials, what you need is a 6mm for the high speed, and then 3mm for the low speed. And what you do is you just turn the dials all the way fully clockwise, and then count the number of clicks out according to the guide. The really good thing on this shock is it has a really positive click. I don't know if you can hear this. That can't be underestimated, because I've had some shocks in the past where you couldn't tell where you were. You didn't know if you'd done 3 clicks or 4 clicks. You just couldn't tell at all. But with this, it's a really positive click on both adjusters, and you know exactly where you are with it. So it's really easy to set up. So the final setting you can do once you've got your sag and your high speed, low speed, rebound and compression set, and you're happy with them. If you find that the shock is bottoming out, what you can do is add these volume spacer rings that come with the shock. You get some spare ones. This is really simple to do, so just take all the air out of the shock, then you just take the body, twist it so the Schrader valve is out of the way of the reservoir, and you can see there's a little notch here, and then you just grip the bottom part of the shock and twist the air can until it lines up, and then you just push and the air can will come off. And then you can see I've got 4 on mine. I've added 1 extra one, and I've got another 3 spares if I want to add them on. And putting these on is really straightforward. You just take the air can off, and then you just pull the volume spacer onto the shock, and then pop the air can cover back on, line the notch back up, and then re-inflate. Try the shock, see if it's still bottomed out. If it's not, leave it. Obviously if it is, come back, add another one. Just wipe off it. You don't need to worry about the oil that comes out of this unless you lose excessive amounts of it, but it should be fine. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to my experiences of running the shock. But first of all, I'll put a little video in of me riding the shock to show you what it actually looks like when it's actually fitted to the bike. my thoughts and experiences of running this shock. So when I first got the shock, like a number of people seem to have, I had concerns about the number of adjustments on this shock. But as I said earlier, it's really straightforward and really easy to get it set up and running really nice. I've had a number of other shocks, and it's like walking in the dark, you know, you just don't know where you are trying to get the settings, and then you just got to spend weeks and weeks trying to get them dialed in. Whereas this is pretty much good to go. It took me, I think, about 3 days to get it completely set up where I want, and I've not touched it since then. So the other thing that when I first got the shock was I was concerned. I thought, well, it doesn't have a climb switch. What's it going to be like for pedaling? And I've had a number of questions from people about this who are concerned about its pedal efficiency. I can assure you it does pedal really, really well, and I don't miss the climb switch at all on this. But if that is something that does concern you and you do want one, I'm pretty certain the 2017 version of this is going to come with one, because they're prototyping a climb switch for this. It may be available as an upgrade for this, but I really don't feel that the shock needs it. But everybody has their own personal preference. As far as the shock actually feels when you're riding it, so obviously there's a downhill shock, so as you'd imagine it really does excel at descents, but as explained before, it does pedal amazingly efficiently for the type of shock it is. It does take big impacts really well, and it's the way I describe this shock is it's a very calm shock when you're riding it. It just sort of gets on with its job, and you just end up with a really smooth ride when you're riding on it. Because I've had some shocks in the past, and you look down and they look hyperactive, you know, like a kid that's been given too many Skittles. You just don't know what the hell they're doing. The shock is all over the place, and the only way you could ever calm it down was by putting the climb switch on. And then you lose loads of traction when you run the climb switch, or most of the climb switches are like that. You just stick a ton of low speed compression on, stiffen the shock up, and then all your traction goes out the window. But as I said, I don't feel this shock needs one. It pedals amazingly without one. It sits really high in its travel. It just feels, I know everyone uses the word, they describe them as plush or buttery, but it really does feel smooth and buttery when you're riding it. It just sort of, it just gives you a nice, calm, smooth ride when you're riding it. So in summary, and obviously this is my personal opinion, but as far as I'm concerned, I think this is the best air shock you can currently buy on the market today. It's certainly the most consistent air shock I've ever ridden. It's really easy to set up, as I explained. It's pretty lightweight for the type of shock it is. It's really versatile, because obviously a wide range of weights can be ridden on it. It almost feels as nice as a coil shock. I would say a coil shock feels smoother, but obviously you've got the compromises of running a coil, with the fact that you have to pick the correct spring size, and you're going to have a weight penalty when running it. But that's my thoughts on the Fox Float X2. I'd love to hear everybody's opinions. If you've got any comments or questions, please feel free to leave them in the box below. Thumbs up are always appreciated, and thanks again for watching.